Welcome to episode 313 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and we are recording the show a little late. It's on a Friday afternoon around 1 p.m. Central Time because of the holiday in the United States, the 4th of July. But that means I was able to get Patrice Brend'amour to come on the show. She don't get to come on so often. So glad you're here, Patrice. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing really well. Second show for today, so it's Friday, so it's a good day. It's a good day.
And this is our third show.
It's your third show. Wow. Okay.
With you.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So great to see you. I'm so glad you're here. Jeff Gamet is here. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing all right, Dave. It is always a treat to get to hang out with you. I know I say that a lot, but it's only because it's true.
Yeah. Appreciate you. Glad you're here. And also glad he's here. Marty Jencius. How you doing, Marty?
It's been a busy day off. I'm cleaning empty boxes out of my tech closet. So I dragged everything out looking for a piece of equipment I never found and then wound up inadvertently having to clean it out. So I've got a new modem. I'm waiting till after the show to install. I didn't want to take any chances.
Good move.
Yeah, don't do it during the show.
No, go ahead. I'm going to see what happens.
Yeah. Let's see what happens.
Oh, we know what will happen.
Thanks for being here, Marty. Ben Roethig is here. How you doing, Ben? Glad you're
good.
Here.
I feel like I've either been recording shows or preparing shows my entire day since I've got up. Oh, wait, I have.
Yeah. Should be the last one of the day, but a great one here. So we've got some good topics. Always hitting on beta, what's going on in the beta world. I would have a little focus on Apple Intelligence, see what's going on with that, and some other extended news with beta and some news stories. But as we always do, we have a lot of fun talking about this stuff. So I will mention that Apple did release iOS 17.6 beta 2 to developers because they're still beta testing the new versions for iOS 17. It was about 2 weeks after the first beta, so we're at beta 2. Not much to really say about it other than the fact that it's got bug fixes and under the hood require improvements. Isn't that what they always say?
Yeah.
So I doubt any of us. I doubt any of us are going to be doing this because a lot of us are already on iOS 18, and at least on our beta devices. So, anybody have any comments about this update?
Yeah, this should be the last version of iOS 17 out of the wild. Or
yes. It's every year the same thing. I'm actually on what is it? 17? No, what is the Mac OS version? See, I don't even remember, but I'm on that beta.
You talking about Sequoia?
No, not Sequoia. So the one before. See, I don't know.
As Jeff
Wine
calls
Country.
it, Wine Country.
Yeah, Wine Country, beta 6, beta 2, whatever that is, right?
Yeah, Sonoma.
Thank you. I'm thanking.
So, all right. So I had to do about this Mac. So that would be you're on 14.6 beta 2?
Yes, exactly.
Yep. So they're doing that too. We'll hit on Mac here in just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Vision OS has an update to 1.3. I'm assuming Marty, you're not on that because
I'm already on the 2.0.
You're at 0.0, so
yeah. But I think it's interesting the kinds of things at least that they rumor about what the changes are. You can see it. They talk about eyesight and they talk about it's more responsive and it's much more sensitive. I redid my eyesight last night because it was getting a little janky and instead just redid it. And it's so much better than it was in the original version.
That's good. Good to hear. The other, I'll mention it, watchOS 10.6, and you have tvOS 17.6, as well as public betas are out as well. So I anticipate it's probably going to be out soon. We're still in beta 2 of iOS 18.
Yeah. Should be next week that we get the public betas, most likely, I would guess. When beta 3 comes out, when beta 3 comes out for across developers, then I think they will put out the first public beta.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so. One thing I'll mention on iOS 18, this was interesting about the overhaul of the home screen. and I don't know, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, Patrice. You probably use it more than any of us here, is the rearranging of the icons. How's that been working out?
I wish I could tell you. I'm just not doing that.
You're not doing it.
Like
Okay.
I have my entire home screen is full with like folders and widgets and whatever. I didn't have to rearrange anything. I was thinking about it, and I'm like, no, I'm actually quite happy with how it looks like right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything with the tints and the icon tints and hiding apps and all that stuff?
Works for not a lot of apps currently. Like most of my icons, I have a tint, and most of my icons are still the same. So I don't know what Apple has to do to enable it, but it's only some of the Apple apps that actually gives it currently.
Yeah.
Dave, the home screen icons and the home screen features in iPad OS 18. I've been playing with that, and the whole rearranging the icons and having gaps and everything. That's generally working for me, but I have noticed that occasionally icons that aren't sitting in the traditional grid, they will jump to a different position.
Okay.
Interesting.
And I don't know if it has to do with restarting or rotating the screen, or if it's just a random thing, but it happens every now and then. But I am liking that on the iPad, you can have completely different arrangements for portrait and landscape mode.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. And I mean, also one really cool thing, you can make icons bigger and smaller. So there's two options, small or big, small, large. And that's really helpful.
Though you lose the app names if it's large.
Yes, that's true.
You know,
I'd like to know your apps.
Yeah. I'd like to think that maybe I have the luxury of having space on my home screen, and then this feature would be much more meaningful. But mine is just filled up, either with folders or with apps that I want to touch as soon as I turn the phone on or turn the iPad on. So it's strange for me because I was playing around with it last week and there was a space on my home screen. I'm like, why hasn't the second page slip one over to fill that up? Till I realized that's the operating system. I had to make the change myself. But I've got I dare I say, I don't think a lot of general users will use this feature because they're just going to dump everything, on the home page or the second page and not think about spaces with it. I try to remember icons by the color, the shape, and the size. So I don't want to change my icons to look different because I'll suddenly not be drawn to them right away.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, there's a small group of people who probably care about this. I mean, we saw the craze when Ben, for example, we saw the craze like a couple of years ago when people started like doing crazy hacks to replace icons and have like apps that had no icon just so that they could have a space and all of like that craziness. So I think there is a group of people who care about this. Honestly, it's one of the things that people always say, oh, but Android has all the customization and iOS doesn't. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why Apple said, okay, let's just stop that.
Yeah.
But a couple observations here. There's one very distinct difference between icon placements on iOS versus Android. Within iOS, you can put it, you can put it anywhere. You can put it anywhere within the grid. The grid still exists. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I literally noticed that while trying to test it to put stuff together. The other thing is, especially on the iPhone Max versions, I wish they would move the search just a little bit closer to the dock, because you're this close to having enough space for another row. Or they would just make that search icon even bigger, so there's just not a bunch of needless space there. But I have to say, I've used everything here. I turned the icon of my my RSS reader into a widget on the fly. I can't think of it, along with widgets. I can't think of any customability feature that I would want and almost moved to Android for many, many moons ago that iOS 18 does not have at this point. It's you can make it your own device. I mean, what I want is going to be different than what Marty wants, what Patrice wants. I mean, like Jeff, it might be full of cats, but it's you know, if you would have went back 5-10 years, almost every single criticism people have had with iOS, Apple has addressed.
I mean, unless you want to make your home screen like the icons look like a cat or something crazy like that, that's still possible.
We should talk to some developer to do that.
We should.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to Apple Intelligence. One little bit of what's going on with that. Mark Gurman had some good information about what's going to arrive and not arrive. Interestingly enough, it is going to arrive to Vision Pro, but not to HomePod. Apple has no plans to bring it to either devices, but to the HomePod, but it will arrive on the Vision Pro in the future. So he says they're not offering this, and instead of focusing on an entirely new robotic device display that includes Apple Intelligence as its core. Apple Intelligence requires a minimum of 8 gigs of memory, but the HomePod and HomePod Mini only have a feature of a single gig of memory. Well, there's their problem right there. And the current HomePod is said to be too low volume of a product to waste engineering time to bring Apple Intelligence to the device. So, Marty, what do you think on the Vision Pro side of this thing? I mean, we're not surprised about that because
I'm happy. I thought it was always going to come. I still think if it's coming, it's not going to come. It's not going to roll out right away to the full extent that it's going to roll out on the. Again, it's a small community in terms of the Vision Pro compared to iPad and phone. So I think they're going to put all their energy behind that. But I'm not surprised it's coming to Vision Pro because people paid a lot of money for it. And it certainly has the computing power, and it has minimum 8 gig, some of them 16 gig. So it'll come. I'm glad to see it happen.
Yep.
I don't think the volume is the problem here. I mean, the HomePod is probably a little bit lower volume than, the iPhone for sure. I think it's more about, if you think about it, it's like what are the compute devices? What are the devices that have personal information on? And that's not the HomePod. The HomePod connects to your phone. Even today, it connects to your phone for personal requests. So I think that's the way the HomePod will go. It will always, it might get some Siri enhancements and all of that, but for the intelligence features, it will always talk to your phone, and then the phone does the thing, or Apple Intelligence on the phone does the thing.
Right.
So it doesn't need. I don't think the RAM is the problem. I mean, they could bring out tomorrow a new HomePod and put in whatever 60 gigs of RAM. I mean, it's gonna cost them pennies to do that these days. So that's not the problem.
Yeah, I do have a theory on that, and it's directly related to an unreleased product. Think about if you noticed during the WWDC keynote, they grouped Apple TV and HomePod and all that into kind of one device. I think you'll either need this screen product or a A17 Pro or later Apple TV to work as kind of your main home hub. Then your HomePods will pretty much just piggyback half of that.
Yeah. Do you mean the screen where I literally said out loud, call it Home OS already? It's all the OSs and then HomePod and Apple TV. And just call it Home OS.
But I think Apple see these as a complementary group of in-home products.
Yeah. Well,
makes sense.
We'll see. As I said, I mean, the Apple Watch, by the way, is also not included. For the same reason. It's just going to connect to your phone for these things. And I mean, I think in that case, it might be also like a limitation of hardware currently.
For Apple Watch, for sure, I would expect.
Yeah,
I would expect that.
so.
Mm-hmm.
Can I speak
Yeah, go ahead.
in reference to some articles, maybe that we're going to cover or not, but there were some hints that a new HomePod is coming out. And,
You've just read my mind.
I have one of those other machines back there, the A-Lady machine that has a screen on it, and it sits back in the room. And I never look at the information that comes up on it because it's pretty much meaningless to me, or it's an advertisement for something that they want me to buy. The idea of a new HomePod coming out that's got more juice in it and that is more personalized to, my context because it's part of the Apple ecosystem and part of my other devices, I think it could be really cool. And it might be more meaningful to have that sitting on my desk up here because it'll have information that I'm interested in to look at in a glance. But we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with you. I'm crazy because I have a small little Amazon Echo sitting here on my screen and looking at that. And you're right. Stupid ads come up all the time. And I have this thing muted because I don't want it going off, especially during shows. And I got the Google Home Hub doing its thing too here. So because it's just me. So I'm crazy. I got to have both these devices sit in front of me, right? But you're right. I mean, the Amazon device especially, I mean, that's all they ever do. I mean, sometimes you got some nice pictures and stuff, and I'm looking at a picture of the Brooklyn Bridge at the moment here, but then later on they're going to start advertising something, So Google does it too. Let's face it. I mean, they're both very bad, but they're both like companies, as we know. So,
well,
and you have
seen differences we get with the hardware in this case, assuming Apple releases a HomePod with a display, is that the purpose of Apple's device will be to give you something that provides information and keeps you in Apple's ecosystem. The purpose of an Echo device is to get you to buy products off Amazon.
Right.
That's it.
Yes. Yeah. And you've seen the UI probably, because it's literally standby on your iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very transparent that Apple didn't just develop that because it's like, oh, this is a cool thing for the iPhone. No, this is literally what it will, like, bigger for sure, hopefully, but it'll look like.
Yeah. No. Oh, yeah, for sure. So, but good point bringing it up, Marty, because this was an article. Of course, we're talking rumors here and people finding code and code references. They're saying that a HomePod with a display corroborated by references to a new Apple quote-unquote home accessory. And it's been quite a while since we've heard rumors about this. I know we've talked about this a number of times on the show. I know, Jeff, for sure, you and I have had conversation about is there going to be a HomePod with a screen?
Mm-hmm.
But the back-end code that was spotted, this is actually spotted by Mac Rumors, references an unreleased home accessory 17,1 device. There are no Apple products under that identifier, so very similar to the audio accessory identifier used for HomePods. Obviously, no details. It's a rumor, and you really don't know. But do you think this is a possibility? This could finally happen? Let's start with you, Jeff.
Well, it's possible it could happen, and Apple has prototypes in their secret labs, and they've had them for years. Whether or not it's a product that Apple feels is appropriate to bring to market is a different story.
Yeah.
If Apple's going to do this, then they have done something with their smart home speaker with display that differentiates it from an Echo Show or a Google Home screen thing. Otherwise, there's no value for Apple in bringing the product to market.
Yeah, not so sure. They might still keep you in the ecosystem with that.
Okay, it would keep you in the ecosystem, but Apple likes to do something that really differentiates their product when they bring it out.
True.
So if it's going to be the same thing as an Echo or a Google Home with a screen, and that's the only thing that's different from what we already have, Apple's not going to do it. There will be something else that makes it unique.
Differentiates it. Yeah.
Yeah. And like kind of the price will be higher. We know that. So like there has to be something where to say about this is why it's worth it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You got thoughts, Marty?
Oh, I think if it ties in, if it has security, that's one
Mhm.
thing. If it's not mining my data, that's another thing. And if it integrates with the kind of questions that I need to know
Mhm.
instead of using the A lady, I'm all in on it. I mean, it'll wind up on my desktop instead of on that table in the back.
Yeah. How about you, Ben?
I would get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're all going to get it.
Yeah, I would.
'Cause,
I mean, for my kitchen.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, it
Mhm.
works both as a home hub and as a functional device in places where you don't have a whole lot of space but need a
Mhm.
medium-sized screen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to do video calls, it's going to do Apple TV, it's going to do some light stuff. Not be a full iPad OS, I don't think, but it's going
Yeah.
to be useful.
I don't need a home hub. I already have so many.
Same
Yeah.
here.
Hey, I only have 6 or 7 or 8.
The thing that
4.
keeps me from going all in on home is the home app and how sketchy it has been with me. That's why
Mhm.
A lady controls all of my devices in my house.
I can give you like a tip. I'm just blanking on the name right now because I always use it and I forget, but I think it's called Control Plus, if I remember correctly. There's a controller. Sorry, it's controller. It's a really good
Okay.
home. Yeah, but
Thanks.
I'm with you. The home app, forget it.
Yeah, the home app
Yeah,
is.
We can have a whole conversation about that by itself here.
We'll probably talk about that a little bit in about a week.
It's true. We could. So we hear some new things. A little more about the Apple Intelligence. There is more than likely going to be a required paid subscription to some of the services, similar to iCloud Plus. Again, Mark Gurman from Bloomberg reported on this. It's going to be free at first, but probably a lot of other features that are being offered by AI partners, just specifically OpenAI. Apple's going to have to agree with a deal with Google and Anthropic to offer their AI services through its devices, with the former expecting to be announced when Apple Intelligence officially launches in the fall as part of the iOS 18, iPad OS 18, and Sequoia release. So Apple did turn down a partnership with Facebook's parent company Meta, surprise, because of privacy concerns. So I think it's strategically looking at sticking with folks like OpenAI and others that are a little more within Apple's line of privacy. So, what do you think, Patrice?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of obvious. I mean, one, Apple likes their service revenue, which we know from all the like quarterly earnings calls. Tim Cook
Yes.
always talks about that and like growing it and whatever. So of course there will be something where they can charge more for it. And then I think also some of the external services. I mean, that ChatGPT is free-ish. You can tie into your Pro account if you want to, but it's
Sure.
at least base level free. Is a surprise to some extent, but I think something that Apple negotiated somewhat probably. But even there, I mean, you can tie it into your Pro account and pay for it. So this will happen I'm pretty sure they will add Google Gemini and maybe some others, and for sure they will have subscriptions for that. And Apple will want some chunk out of that money, as always.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's what they do, and they do it well. How about you, Jeff? What do you think?
I've been assuming ever since we got all the news at WWDC that there would be a subset of features, premium features, if you will, for Apple's AI initiative that will ultimately be part of a subscription. And if that's a separate purchase, maybe. Alternately, it could be something that if you're paying for an iCloud account,
Mhm.
that it's just bundled as part of what you're getting with that.
Yeah.
And I could totally see Apple doing it that way.
Yeah. And then 6 months later, Apple increases the price. Said, "Good, look what you're getting this with it." So one way or another, you're paying for it.
Yeah, one way or another, you'll be paying for it. But yeah, I'm not surprised at this report at all. And I think for a lot of users, it won't matter because they won't be using Apple's AI features to the extent where they need to have the premium features as well.
Yeah. Now, Marty, you as a paid customer of ChatGPT, I mean, this probably wouldn't affect you much, but what do you think on this?
Well, my only concern is that if the S Lady doesn't get any smarter and that becomes the portal to get stuff done, then I think I'll stay with what I'm using. I'm not willing to pay more money to get the same bad responses. I get better responses from some of the other search systems. So to me, it's all predicated on whether or not we've got a strong backbone with the S Lady.
Right.
And some of the things they're doing with the S Lady, okay, cute. That's nice. But it doesn't indicate to me that it's going to be second order thinking, which is the kinds of questions that I pose the other systems and ChatGPT in particular and get responses to.
Makes sense.
I
Last
mean,
word on it, Ben. Oh, good.
No, I mean, I think that one you will get because if it if it ties into ChatGPT, then you literally get the answer from ChatGPT and Siri just has to read it. And I think that's easier.
Yeah.
Last word, Ben.
Something that could end up completely justifying an Apple One subscription.
Yes, I would say that for sure because they probably would potentially package it into that. But spitting off to that, some of the features that aren't going to be included when it's released in the fall is the fact that the Siri roster. Oops, I don't have to mean to trigger you off there, S lady, of new app actions. It's going to get a big upgrade thanks to Apple Intelligence, but with the promise of finally becoming more powerful. But the new and improved S lady is going to still need some additional development before they're going to be able to even come close. And it just seems that Apple fell way behind with S Lady, which is kind of sad. I mean, because some of these other ones that we complain about tend to do a better job with them, including Amazon and Google. So, as well as any other language besides U.S. English, which in Patrice, in your case, that isn't going to work. I mean, for you it will be all right, but
for me,
in
it's
other
not
countries,
other people
in countries who don't speak it,
Yeah.
it's going to be tough. But it is what it is. S ladies on screen awareness. They got the big. They were showing that with the big highlighting of awareness. That's that they're not ready for that yet. So I love when we know this. When you hear WWDC, they're always going to announce stuff and say, "Oh, look how cool this is," but then it takes them a year before they release it.
Yes,
I think they even said specifically that this would come later in the fall or later this year or something.
Yeah,
yeah,
or later in the spring or summer.
Yeah. And then Apple Mail within iOS 18, the categorization and message summaries that'll be infused. Be some nice improvements, to be able to organize your messages. I kind of hate the ones from Google using it with Gmail, so I don't know how much I'm going to use this. Just like Microsoft on their infinite wisdom with Outlook, thinking that a focused mailbox is the best thing in the world, and I can't stand it because then Threads is the other thing. Your message threads. Oh, this is great. All puts it on place. I can't find anything because it's all down buried somewhere. Because I must have talked about that, and I just never liked it. So, is that going to be popular? Hard to say. You guys have any comments about any of these features that may not come?
I mean, since Apple Intelligence is coming later, I kind of expected that some of the features would also not come, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is honestly a creation of a new platform that's available on all Apple devices. It's going to take time to build and build it in a way that meets Apple's standards. I mean, the ones that are out there, they did it kind of the quick and easy way where, I mean, let's face it, you are part of the purchase price of the services.
Yeah, that is true.
So the other side of it is something Ben said up to Apple standards. Look at Siri today. Is this really up to Apple standards? And if so,
surprisingly,
if it is, then we should not put or set our expectations too high, very high. We should not set our expectations above medium for Apple's Apple Intelligence platform.
I mean, personally, especially with the way Siri is now, I think they kind of gave up on the existing platform a while ago.
They did.
And yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping putting all their eggs into Apple Intelligence Siri pays off in a way that the first couple of generations of Siri just couldn't.
Yeah. I think that
I hope you're right.
I don't think Apple Siri today is up to Apple standards.
No.
And that's not just based on what I feel like, it's based on also some things I've heard out of like developer areas at Apple. I heard like many years ago, like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years ago, that Apple ran into, maybe 2 years ago, I don't remember, very serious issues with Siri where they couldn't scale anymore.
Yeah.
Like they wanted her to improve and they wanted to do certain things and they just ran into a wall and couldn't get past it. And they basically had to go back and re-engineer it. And significantly like re-engineer it. And we've seen some things happen, like last year, I think, especially. We saw some improvements, so I think they started to roll that out. But very clearly, Apple still catching up with others because of that. And that's a typical engineering challenge. Like any software engineer will tell you, sometimes you think you have a good path, you thought it through, you're like, okay, this is going to scale forever, and then you run into problems and like, okay, yeah, we have to go back.
Yeah, and I think that's why we're seeing developer access in Apple Intelligence Siri far beyond what we ever saw in regular Siri, because Apple just figured out this can't do what we want it to do. So we're going to wait till there is something that actually lives up to our standards to give people access to. Because right now you say, hey, S lady, play rat, and God knows what you're actually going to get.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, today. Yeah.
I literally, I'm going to post an Instagram picture of this later, but I had to actually literally spell it out because they played some electronica crap that I didn't even want to.
Yeah. I mean, for me right now, I'm in the betas, and for sure it does not have new Siri and Apple Intelligence yet. So the old Siri currently is more broken than it was before. Like currently it's telling, like it's reading things to me. It's like, oh, like, do you want to run this home like automation? And I say yes. And it says, here's what I found on the web for yes. And I'm like, thank you. It's not what I wanted. So I think, I mean, it's a bug, like very clearly fine. Like it's a beta. I don't complain about it. I just deal with it. But it has to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
So have they been keeping the S Lady on life support for years?
Yes.
I mean, we think of other devices where they've had their assistants and their assistants are now gone. And I think that
Cortana?
it kind of gives a bad, it's better to have a bad relative at dinner than to have no relatives at all. And so I think
the relative, but yeah,
I would say so. Yeah.
So I'm thinking, let's keep her around for a while until we can finally give it the boost that she needs and the re-engineering.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely. I mean, we saw that. Like, she didn't really make. I mean, last year there were some improvements and some jumps, but mostly on the how real the voice sounds, which is, I think, easier to do because you can replace that easier than really the stuff that happens behind the scenes. But this year, we're seeing bigger jumps. I think this might be the re-engineered version.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed she said she's saying the wrong things in a much nicer voice this year.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what happened. Yes.
Yep. A couple more items I want to talk about on iOS and iPadOS 18 updates. iPadOS 18 makes it easier now to choose and add emoji when you type in iPhone apps. But of course, we know the experience using an iPhone app is not exactly great. I mean, whenever I see an app, it's iPhone only. I almost don't want to install it on my iPad. So I guess when you're using an iPad connected to an external keyboard, wired, wireless, or their Magic Keyboard, the virtual keyboard disappears from the screen, making room for the content on the screen. But if you want to choose and add an emoji to your text, all you have to do is to go to the on-screen keyboard settings menu and Control plus Command and space, and then get the emoji picker. I guess that's an improvement. I guess I don't think how critically important do you guys think this is support at all? Honestly, and especially on an iPad, didn't think so.
Yeah, I mean, nice, but
Picking emojis in general is hot garbage.
Yeah.
So saying you've improved it or made it easier, I'll take it.
Less hot garbage.
I mean, most people use the same 10 emoji, and that's usually on the first page of the emoji picker. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, I freely admit I'm an outlier because I'm always looking for some rando emoji.
Yeah, me too. So and then I use
too
the
much fun
search
not
and it
to.
doesn't find anything.
Yeah, or I end up with weird symbol emojis that aren't related to what I actually wanted. And
yeah.
Anyhow, if they've done something that improves using emoji on any level, I'll take it.
I do searching for emojis when I said this would be the perfect emoji, and then I'm absolutely surprised that no one has come up with that object as an emoji object. So maybe the ability for us to create our own emojis in the future will be really handy for me. But other than that, smiley face, frowny face, throw up.
Yeah.
Had pooped into that too, right?
Yeah, poop. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we had the DTN for years running, the top 10 emoji that in the world that people use, and poop is always in there somewhere.
It's always, yep.
Always.
Has anyone at the Unicode Consortium talked about their take on Apple letting you create your own emoji? Because I'm sure the first thing they'll say is, that's actually not emoji.
Yes, it's just an image.
It's just an image, yeah. Because emoji is set by the Unicode Consortium, and what Apple's doing is not.
It's an image in an emoji, in Apple's emoji style. That's what it is.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Which to Apple's credit, they are calling it Genmoji and not emoji.
Right.
Okay, good point. Yep.
So
just
can I make
Memoji?
Can I make a poop emoji throwing up?
Yes,
That would
can.
close out my
Do it.
It would be fun.
Oh my gosh.
That's all we need is like a GIF on demand of Ian McDermott as Palpatine saying, "Do it."
Let the
two more things here. I'm going to be very. Two more things I'm going to go very quickly through here. WatchOS 11 gains integrated Shazam widget for identifying songs. Does anybody care?
Yes,
Probably
I
not.
do.
Yes.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's always, where's my phone? It's in my pocket. Let me pull it out. Now I have to find the damn Shazam.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Up in the.
Yeah.
And
by
now
the
it's
time
like,
you're there, it's gone.
Come on, the song's done with. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
All the time.
See, look at that. I tried to go through this and I shouldn't have.
This is what you get,
it doesn't.
Dave.
That is. I do. Yeah. Well, because it's going to be a widget into the smart stacks in the WatchOS 11 update, so it'll make it quicker to get without the S lady or downloading an app. So that's great. Oh, Shazam has been amazing, but you're right. I mean, anytime you want to use Shazam, you got to fumble through the control center to get to it, and who wants to do that? You want to have a quick way of, hey, wait, my watch, and do that. So this one, I think you're probably going to say, who cares? Well, I'll find out now. iOS 18 finally adds T9 dialing on the iPhone because that's a long requested feature for Android users switching to iPhone. The addition of T9 dialing. This is a shortcut to dialing phone numbers from your address book by typing letters on the keypad. So, for instance, if you were going to call John, you'd enter 564 or JOH. So. We've never
you
used
might
this.
say, "Hey, S lady, called John." And
yeah. So someone found that to be important. I thought that was kind of funny, so that's why pop that in here.
It's funny, but it actually is important because if you
Is it?
have switchers, it's always nice to have features
Yeah, it's
that
true.
make adapting to the new platform easier.
Yeah, but nobody's switching from the 1980s.
That's right.
It's not that old. I mean, T9 was a big thing in the early 2000s still.
Yeah.
So I remember that. So
And we did mention Sonoma's 14.6 public beta came out.
Mhm.
So are you using that, Patrice?
I'm on the developer beta, but yes,
For 14.6.
14.6, yeah. No
so
major
not much.
changes that I've noticed, honestly. I've noticed nothing. Like, it just
It's probably just some bug fixes and
Yeah.
improvements, like they always say.
pretty much, yeah. Little things that
Um,
they're porting back maybe to do support, because sometimes they port back features to like earlier versions because they want people to be able to like interact between new version and the old version. Like, you have a phone on 18, but you have a Mac on 14, and you still want to have some features work. So they do that
Yep.
sometimes.
This one, real quick, I mentioned what Sequoia features are not on Intel. It won't on Intel Macs
Mhm.
won't be supported. No surprise. Apple Intelligence, live audio
Yeah.
transcription.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, everything else is going to be still supported on the Intel Mac. So
That's pretty good.
you're going. That's
It's
pretty
amazing,
good.
Those-
You must-
actually.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
two make
yeah.
sense because I mean
Yeah.
they require
Sure.
like the audio transcription requires the Apple Silicon chips, and it's not just they could do it. No, there's like the neural engines on there, and they need that for that. So
But I mean-
I doubt they could implement it on Intel.
Yeah. But I mean, still, unless you are tied to something very, very specific to Intel Macs, it's been almost 5 years. It's about time.
Yeah, it depends what you bought. If you bought a Apple Mac Pro, I was like Apple Pro, no Mac Pro, and like until what was it last year when they finally came out with the Apple Silicon versions, you're still on Intel.
Yep.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's why they I think supporting it still, because it's for some people it's only been whatever 2 years.
Yep, that's for sure. So move on to some news stories. I know Patrice is really excited. You did
Mhm.
pre-order your Vision Pro, correct?
Yes, I did. I'm picking it up next week, like on Friday, 10 a.m. in Munich. So need it.
That's awesome. So you got to be excited, and we're
Great.
going to be really looking
Oh.
forward to hearing about it. And I know
Mhm.
Marty's going to probably want to get you on his show too.
Yeah.
Vision Profiles.
Mm-hmm.
Good plug
I'm
there for you,
listening
Marty.
to it all the time. It's a lot of fun.
So they that went down at the end a couple days ago, and you got the pre-orders in
A week ago.
and a week ago, right?
Yeah.
So and China's already has it now, and Hong Kong and Japan and Singapore also have it now.
I think it's for them it shipped probably today, because I think they were a week ahead of Europe, Canada, and Australia, I think. So it's probably already shipping there today. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it was pretty smooth. I was surprised. I was in Portugal and I was out for lunch, and I was like, oh, I have to be back by 1 because I have to order my Vision Pro. And I was like, and usually, with the iPhone, it takes like 5 minutes sometimes until the store comes up. It's like to the second, like 1 p.m. local time,
Wow.
so 2 p.m. my time, like Central European time. It just went up and was available, and I was able to order. And I checked like a couple hours later, and I could still get pickup dates in Munich for like the like launch day. So we kind of expected that it wouldn't be massive.
Exciting for you. But
Yeah, I mean, who can spend $5,000 on like a new device? It's not everything.
This is not everybody. One thing Apple is going to change is the way they do Vision Pro demos, which I might go back and try it myself here. You'll see 2 big changes. The first one, you get the opportunity to, as a customer, use your own photos on the headset. So that'll kind of give an emotional impact for somebody, which is great. And the second thing will be is they're going to offer the would-be buyers more time with the demo, with an option to refer to as a go deeper. And you're also going to be able to get the dual strap headset on your head if you wanted to get a little better support, because they were only doing the single strap.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Marty, what Are you using the dual or the single strap when you use it?
I go back and forth. Currently, I'm using the dual. And I don't know if it's habit or if it's just I want a different feel on my head for a while, but I'll wear the dual strap for like a month and go, oh, let me go back to the solo and see what it's like, or let me go back to the dual strap. And I think it's good that their default in the stores is starting with the dual strap. I think Eric is real excited about that. I'm a little more excited about the photos and the go deeper opportunities that are part of the extended demo. My only regret, and we might have evidence to the difference, is that they'll be doing this on 1.3 instead of 2.0, because 2.0 is such a different interface. And but I've also heard some of the stores are saying they're going to do that, particularly European or other stores are going to be doing it with the 2.0 beta on it, where not only can you get your own pictures, but you can also do the 3D spatial swap on your pictures.
I'll remember, hopefully, to ask when I'm in the store what version they have on the demo units. It'd be interesting. I'm not sure if I was Apple, I would risk it because it's a beta after all, and it might just crash. Yeah. So I'm like, would I want that? Like, it would be really bad user experience if like you book this slot, you're there, and then it doesn't work. But I mean, on the other hand, they do like one with 2.0 and one with 1.3, and if one doesn't work, they just say, oh, let's just switch over.
Yeah. If I were to do it, but of course Apple doesn't ever bother to ask me, I would do all the demos on the current public release so that when people buy the device, after the demo, they see the feature, they get to use the features that they actually were demoed. But then I would include like a little preview thing, and here are new features you'll get on this very device this fall.
Yeah. And that could be the go deeper thing, right? Where they say like, they do the standard demo and then they say, oh, you want to go deeper? You want to see what's coming up? We have we might have to switch the light shield or whatever, but like you can do that.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely have both standard production and 2.0 beta units in store and maybe ask customer preference.
Yeah, it could also be. But as I said, it's risky because if it breaks, it's a really bad experience.
Yeah.
We're going to do demos at Macstock in the evening. We're going to offer it up for people who want to come in. And I think Eric and I are going to try and do our usual Monday show. We're going to try and record live at Macstock.
Nice.
In the evening in lieu of karaoke.
What?
My wife has not. She cringes every time I start singing, "Do You Really Want to Hurt Me?"
Let me get my money. Hold on.
Get those cameras out.
See the.
So I switched it to "Girls Just Want to Have Fun." With the little skirt dancing thing that upsets her even more.
Yeah, she goes back to the first song and answers yes.
That.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'd pay money to see that.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, let's get close to wrapping up here. I'll just mention a couple more things here. I'm sure Ben appreciates this. Resident Evil 7's debuts on the iPhone 15 Pro, iPad, and the Mac. The game will run natively on Apple Silicon, and support for cross-progression. Universal purchase lets Apple users play the games across all devices with a single purchase, which is amazing. Capcom did note that the iPhone and iPad version of Resident Evil Biohazard includes an enhanced controls with a new auto fire option to assist in touch screen usability. So it looks like they've done some pretty cool things with this game. And you going to play this, Ben?
Oh, sorry, Dave. Did you say something? I was busy poning zombies.
Okay, I thought so. So for those gamers out there, not me, and probably many of us on this panel, besides you, Ben, I knew that you'd like this. That's great to see Apple's doing this stuff and cross-platforming it and making it for one instead of having to pay 3, which was crazy. And last to wrap up this week, Apple reclassifies the iPhone 10, HomePod, and original AirPods as vintage. So they reclassified all 3 of those devices as vintage products. The products appear on vintage and obsolete products listed earlier today, as we record. but you think about it, then the iPhone 10 was released in 2017. So was the original HomePod, the OG HomePod. And then the AirPods were 2016. So, they're long in the tooth. It just basically means that they'll still probably, what that vengeance means that they'll still have the parts left, whatever's left, they'll fix. And then beyond that, it's not going to be repairable anymore. So versus what obsolete means, it's completely obsolete and not that. Now we talked about this on the Mac show earlier, but I know, Jeff, you mentioned the iPhone 10, which I thought was it's a very good model. I mean, I've pretty much owned every iPhone since the 3G. So I think many of us have seen that all. Sad. It's kind of sad as time goes on here, but I think they've made some improvements, wouldn't you think, from new models?
Oh, yeah. It's iPhone 10. It's okay. My 3 favorite iPhones, and I don't put the original iPhone in the list because it's like that's the only one we had at the time, and I loved it. But 3GS 610 and or excuse me, 3GS 710, and seeing it go vintage on one hand, it's like, oh, that's kind of sad. But on the other hand, it's a device that hasn't gotten the current version of iOS anyhow.
Right.
So we knew it was coming.
Time to move on.
Yeah.
So
for me, it's more like, wow, it's been that long.
Yeah,
it feels like the 10 was like 2 or 3 years ago, and it's like, no,
agree.
It's not.
It's no 7.
Yeah, when I'm at Macstock, there is a friend of the family's who's older, retired, and she's got a 10. And she's been to the store once, and they said, you really need to replace this. So she's waiting for me to show up. And they were offering her a 13 or an SE. And I said, your phone is 6 years old now. Why would you get a phone that's 3 years old?
Yes.
And so I have convinced her. And then she started playing when she's like, yeah. And I said, think of it this way. That phone can last you another 6 years. Then that made sense to her, So we're going to dash over in the evening and do it. So,
good for you. That's like
great day.
Kind of you. And speaking of that means you're going to get one more thing, Brett, before I wrap up.
I was going to say I just switched my dad over to a 12 mini from an SE.
Nice.
Move him up a little bit.
Marty, after you shared what you're going to be doing, first it makes me like you even more. But then also, it doesn't matter what Ben says about you. You really are a good guy.
Oh, Jeff.
Marty
before
McFly.
We go, speaking of Macstock, this is the last chance this week. By the time you listen to this or watch this, Macstock 8 is going to be here. It's next week. It's actually a week from today, which is going to be July 12th through the 14th at Macstock Conference and Expo. Come join me and join Marty and join Jeff and Chuck Joyner and just a whole cast of characters. But it's a great place to network, great place to meet people and talk. And we're approachable. Love to talk to you. But time is running out. You can still get the discount. We have a discount code here with this podcast, which is In Touch with iOS, all one word. In the offer codes and the coupon code, when you go to purchase it, it'll give you $30 off. So go to macstockconferenceandexpo.com, and we'd love to have you join us. One last mention of it, and I can't believe it. It's going to be a week from today here. We're going to have a lot of fun. So come join us. Again, it's macstockconferenceandexpo.com, and check it all out. It's going to be great. And thank you all for being here, and thank you for doing this show on a weird time we don't normally do, but it was great to have you, Patrice. And we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. Let's please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon at intouchwithios, at techhangout.social. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We really appreciate it. make sure you like, share, and subscribe so when you're notified when we are live streaming. Usually it's on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios, where you can watch the current and past live streams as well as listen to past shows. In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard. You can go there, and there's many of the articles and topics we talk about are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. Just go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are on that website. I am Dave Ginsburg. You can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 and Mastodon.cloud. Patrice Brend'amour, thank you so much for being here. It was such a pleasure to have you here. Where can people find you?
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for also moving the show a little bit time-wise so that I could join. It's not in the middle of the night for me here. Thank you. I'm like everything I'm doing, like all the social media links, the podcast, the projects, literally everything is on my website, thepatrice.com. And I want to like pitch or pimp like a podcast I'm doing with Jeff Gamet, a brand new podcast called Retro Rewatch. Literally, I think 2 or 3 hours ago we published the 3rd episode. And it's a really cool show because like Jeff hasn't watched certain shows that like after 27 years you would expect he has seen, especially given the type of person he is. Something just happened with my camera, doesn't matter.
Okay.
So we're watching Stargate SG-1. I'm rewatching it, Jeff is watching it for the first time. And we're literally, we're having a lot of fun. I'm not gonna lie, today's episode is... we had opinions about this episode, so best you want.
We had opinions about this week's episode. Yep.
Yeah. So retrorewatch.com is where you can find it.
Great. Thanks for being here. Jeff Gamet, thank you for being here as always, and can't wait to see you, Marty, and everybody else next week. But this time, where can people find you?
Well, when I'm not sitting here getting more excited by the day about Macstock, social media, Gamet on all the platforms, Mastodon, Instagram, and Threads. That's where I'm active right now. Then shows, Chuck Joyner's Mac Voices Live on Tuesdays, here with you on Thursdays, except today it's Friday, for In Touch with iOS. So thank you for letting me be part of the show. And on the British Tech Network, The Big Show on Thursdays, The Mac Show on Fridays, Context Machine with Brian Chaffin, and as Patrice pointed out, Retro Rewatch. And yes, we both had a lot of opinions about the show we watched this week.
Great, thanks, Jeff. Marty Jencius, thank you for being here. Can't wait to see you next week. Where can people find you?
Well, first off, I think you're on episode 3 of Stargate. That was what came out today because I was searching for stuff. So I might have to catch up. I might have to finally bear down and watch it. I've never seen that show before either.
I haven't either.
Wow.
You can. Yeah, because it'll then listen along on the podcast, which will make it a lot more fun too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could.
By the way, it's episode 4 of Stargate.
Oh, okay. Episode 4?
+1. Yes, +1.
Okay.
Episode 3 of our show because the pilot is 2 episodes. So.
Okay. All right. Anyway, you can find me and the stuff that I do at thepodtalk.net. 3 podcasts, The Tech Savvy Professor, Circular Firing Squad, and Vision Profiles, which is a fun podcast that we're doing. Here in Touch with iOS, and also you can find me with Chuck Joyner on Mac Voices Live.
Thanks, Marty. Last but certainly not least, Ben Roethig, we're going to miss you, but maybe next year you'll be there in spirit. Where can people find you?
Well, you can find me at Ben Roethig on your social media network of choice. You can find my writings when I actually get a chance to not have a 5-day holiday and have time to write at RoethigTech.com. On Tuesdays, you can find me on In Touch with Mac Voices with Chuck Joyner. It's been a long week already.
In Touch with Chuck Joyner.
Yeah. Up close.
And then on Thursdays, Dave Voices Live.
Yes. Yes, on
Hey.
Thursdays and Friday mornings, you can find me on the British Tech Network on the Big and Mac shows, where I may be the interim host this week, depending on if there's shows, while you guys are at
I think
Macstock.
so.
Yep. And lastly, you can always find me here on In Touch with iOS with Dave Ginsburg, normally on Thursday nights.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate you being here. And programming note, we are going to attempt to record another show. We might have a repeat performance of last year's Macstock. And Jeff, Chuck, and I will probably have a show to put out for you pre-Macstock. So stay tuned. You'll more than likely hear that next week. So, but until next time, thank you so much for listening, for watching, for supporting the show. We really appreciate it. And we'll talk again soon.